going to do is a kind of an older one. It was made famous by a really good judoka and sambo man named Kashiwazaki. So we call it the Kashiwazaki sweep. This is a ground to standing sort of sweep where I'm on my back and guard and he's trying to pass standing. So we're going to start, and we're in this sort of situation where he's moving around. I'm trying to control him with my feet. It doesn't really matter how I got here. Kashiwazaki usually got his grips and then just kind of slid right under, trying a tomoe-nage, and if that failed, he'd go right into one of his various sweeps. This was one of them. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to get a good lapel grip right here, because I'm going to be able to use that to pull and push as I'm finishing the sweep. Next, I'm going to take this outside leg on the opposite side, and I'm going to shift in on his hip or his gut. I prefer to hit the hip, because if he starts trying to step over, I can move with him until I can get a hold of that leg. So I keep that in there nice and tight. You can also do a few other things like pop him up and elevator sweep him if you get the opportunity to. So once I get that foot in there, I'm going to really quickly isolate over here on his ankle, and as I pull myself in, I'm going to switch into a very deep underhook. You want to get your bicep all the way underneath there, right next to his ankle where his foot meets the ground, and you should be able to wave at yourself. Okay, that way you're using a full weight and strength of your shoulder and your bicep. Once I get that underhook, this leg is going to slip through from up here on his upper thigh or his hip down and do an ouchi sort of motion where I hook the back of his leg. Okay? Some people like doing it up here. Personally, I like down there because that's going to make it easier to sweep that leg through as I'm pulling on the opposite one. So whenever I'm ready, we're going to straighten the leg that's right here to get him a little bit off balance, and then I'm going to pull on this arm and sweep on that arm, and then punch. We come right up, and then you switch through to a pin. One more time through. One more time. And that's the Kashiwazaki.
I'm going to go ahead and start here on my back. And in this case, it's really important that I've got some control over my opponent. So I want to be controlling his sleeve. And you have a choice with this other hand. You can take a standard sleeve and lapel grip here. This works great. Or it could be a 2-on-1 grip, whatever you like. Now I've got long legs, so I tend to utilize techniques that allow me to take advantage of that and kind of use it against my opponent as much as possible. So for this particular sweep, it's really a variation of a much older judo technique, commonly called the Kashiwazaki sweep. This is a slight variation of that technique. We call it a waiter sweep, and I'll explain why in just a second. So got my grips here and here. My left foot is going to be on his hip. With my right leg, I like to execute a measure of control over this arm and shoulder. So what I'm going to do is bring that foot up and place it on his bicep here, and elbow, to help me isolate that side of his body. It's not going to stay there forever, but it allows me a little bit of control over him while I set the rest of the sweep up. So I'm here with this 2-on-1 grip. I'm going to use my right hand to cross grip and pull this arm over just a little bit. My left hand is now free. It's going to dive all the way down. And my goal, if possible, is to put my elbow behind his heel. So I'm going to dive down and hook here. And this is why we call it a waiter sweep, because now it kind of resembles a waiter holding a tray of food he's carrying out to a table. So I hook here like that. Now, if you can't make that connection, you could grab here or here. But it is a little bit better if you actually get your elbow behind his heel. It's going to be very hard for him to kick that leg free with my elbow in place. That right foot that is controlling his arm is now going to release. I'm going to place it right behind the leg on the same side. And this is a very important part of this technique. If I don't execute this piece, Sensei Derek can take his free leg and actually step backwards in a half circle, and now he's really starting to give me problems. He's going to probably pass my guard at this point. He's going to come in and pin me. So that leg is executing control over that side of his body through the whole technique. At first, it's controlling this, but later in the technique, we're going to drop it down and hook behind his knee. Now he can't take that step. So I'm going to pull with my elbow and push with my left foot. And I like to really use this sleeve grip like a rope. As he's falling, I'm going to be using it to go ahead and start helping me to climb up to go into a guard pass. So I'm not going to lay here until he hits the ground, but instead I'm going to start my ascent as soon as he starts his descent. So I push with my left foot, slice across his inner thigh, windshield wiper the leg into side control. So let's see it again. So that's our variation of the Kashiwazaki sweep. We call it the waiter sweep. Hope you enjoy it.